Welcome back to the Blissful Badger. Recently, a subscriber asked for an explanation of how to select and collect wargaming models. Today, I'm going to share my thoughts on how to determine if wargaming is right for you and what games and armies might interest you. Once you're interested in wargaming, it's important to understand just how many options you have. Wargaming has been around for a long time, and with so many systems to choose from, it can help to start by asking yourself a question. Why do you want to get into wargaming? I see three main reasons: collecting, building and painting, and actual competitive play. Now, when I say competitive, I don't mean tournaments as much as actually just getting games in. The next big question you have to ask is what sort of setting appeals to you? What aesthetic do you like? This will help you decide which games and universes you'll want to investigate further. I'll go over some of the more common options available and how they appeal to those interested. When it comes to collecting, what type of aesthetic are you looking for? Do you want something that fits a fantasy setting, or a science fiction setting, or a historical setting? Are you looking for something within a certain fandom? Are you looking for something that's played everywhere you go? So I'm going to start this list from the bottom. If you're planning to play against opponents, first you need to find out what types of games are being played in the area you live. There are also options like Tabletop Simulator, but we're going to actually leave this to physical minis. So first, you need to figure out what types of games are played around where you live. It doesn't make sense to collect the other side if no one in your area plays it. Games such as Warhammer 40,000 and Age of Sigmar are played fairly everywhere that you go. They may also play Marvel Crisis Protocol, or Star Wars Legion, or Star Wars Shatterpoint, or X-Wing. They might play Kill Team, they might play Malifaux, or any number of other games. Knowing this will help decide whether or not you're actually going to choose an army in one of those game systems. Knowing what is available and what people already play can help decide on the gaming aspect. If you go to sites like Warhammer.com, you can look through all of the starter army boxes that they have for Warhammer 40,000 and Age of Sigmar. Between the combat patrols, with 24 options, and the Vanguard boxes, with 20 options, you can see that there are quite a few different options in the Warhammer universe. You can also look at the Star Wars Legion boxes. There are two options for two-player starter sets, one in the Clone Wars and one in the original series time periods. And then there are also starter boxes for each of the factions within that. Malifaux has a cool system where you choose a guild box and then 2 or 3 boxes to go along with that, and you have a starting force. And you have the option to choose any guild to start that cycle with. And changing up 1 or 2 of those boxes can make a fully different army for you. Kill Team can be a starter box, a 2-player force, or built of models from any particular faction that exists. So this goes into the playing aspect. So you need to find what type of game you're looking to play. Playing Imperial Knights is quite a bit different than playing Tyranids with a swarm. But then you can also look at Tyranids as large kaiju. And if you have kaiju to fight, perhaps you're looking for Tau and large battle suits. If you like those mechas, that's a pretty cool way to start. Alternatively, if you're looking for fantasy elves, you might want to look into the Lumineth for Age of Sigmar, or Space Elves with Eldari. Do you want to have a lot of fun charging and not having great shooting? Maybe Orcs is right for you. But each faction has a different way to play, and you need to kind of get a feel for that before you build an army to play. So I think that's a good start for if you're looking to play, how to get something chosen, knowing what the nearby area is playing, and getting a feel for what types of armies exist can start putting you on the right track for the playstyle. But playstyle is not the be-all end-all of things. So the next category is aesthetics. So yeah, aesthetics. If you're looking at an army, do you want massed infantry of humans? Imperial Guard, Astra Militarum, are humans with tanks. And so if you're just looking for fighting a war in space in the 41st millennium with guys just being regular guys, Astra Militarum might be for you. But what if you didn't want to actually have this take place in the 41st millennium? Well, since we're talking about aesthetics, you could always look into dust tactics, or dust warfare, or I think Dust 1947. All three were based on the same models, and they're no longer being produced that I know of, but they have cool aesthetics of what if World War II went a few more years? And there's some more technology and everything in it, but they have some interesting models in that line. Again, they're just normal troops from the 1940s, but set in an alternative dystopian world where the war didn't end. But what if you want knights? What if you want a whole bunch of shiny metal soldiers that just can't die? Every time they get killed, they just get brought back. Well, then you're looking at Age of Sigmar and the Stormcast Eternals. Some of them have really big hammers, but they're not dwarves. Others are sleek and have spears. They look pretty cool. So many of them are painted in gold and trimmed with blue, but that doesn't mean that you can't paint them up as stone. Old stone models that just keep coming back. And speaking of coming back, do you want to play as a bunch of skeletons? Or how about Terminators? You could always play Necrons. Again, the aesthetics of these armies, they span across all sorts of ideas. Privateer Press had Scorn, who were a mixture of feudal Japan and Klingons, with a little bit of Hellraiser in there. So many games have options that can satisfy your collective interests. Mantic has Space Rats. Also, when you're just looking for collecting and painting purposes, you can look at old games that don't actually have any following anymore. Maybe you're looking for Starship Troopers, or Judge Dredd, or maybe you're looking for something closer to a board game with miniatures. Kingdom Death is a really cool game with several models. I got to play this one time, and it's a really cool game. Not as much of a war game as it is a board game, but it's right on that cusp. Or you could even get into games like Necromunda or Mordheim. Mordheim was an amazing game that was based in a fantasy world where you had a few models skirmishing to collect the ravages of a destroyed city of Mordheim. But again, they currently have Warcry and Necromunda and Warhammer Underworlds, and all of those are similar-sized, small skirmish games. So if you're looking to collect smaller forces and have a variety available to you, there are quite a few different games out there where you can just collect a half dozen or a dozen models, and then that's a whole force. And then there are also the games like Warhammer 40,000 and Age of Sigmar, where you could collect quite a few more models than that. I have over 500 Tyranid models. And then we come to collecting. One of the things is, if you're not looking to actually paint these models, there is a vast secondhand market where you can find a lot of really cool models that are painted decently. So if you just wanted to collect something that looked really cool and have it on your shelf, there are so many options out there. Now, I prefer to paint my models. Sometimes there are not enough hours in the day to do everything you're looking to do. And if you have a cool model that looks really great on the shelf, that's still a really cool model on your shelf. So again, you can collect these things as well as paint or kit bash your own models. And there are so many different ways to enjoy this hobby and wargaming as a whole. You really need to know where you feel right and why you want to collect it before you get into the hobby. Because trust me, over time, you'll know which sections you want to explore and which ones don't interest you. But it is good to know from the start what you're looking to get into and what you're looking to get out of this hobby. So I hope this helped you make a decision on why you want to get into the hobby of wargaming, and perhaps which type of wargaming you're looking to play or collect. So I hope this helped as an introductory guide to why someone may want to collect wargaming. So why do you want to get into wargaming? Was it from the collecting part or the gaming part? Is it based on lore? Do you have a particular fandom that you're looking into? Let me know. I'm curious. Maybe I have more info that I can give you in your journey. Subscribe if you haven't, so that you don't miss any future videos. I also want to thank my patrons and supporters for making these videos possible. And until next time, I hope you find your bit of bliss.